to know the artist behind the epic melodies, songs, and beats. Celebrating the best new music from around the world. This is the A State of Trance podcast.
Welcome to a new State of Trance podcast. My name is Ruben Donle and I have in the studio today Jochem Hamerling.
Hey, hello.
How is it going with you?
It's very good. Very good.
I already mentioned it on the regular radio show that we had a few new artists in Rotterdam that we booked for the very first time. And some of them really left a mark, including yourselves. That's
nice
why
to hear.
we had to get you behind the decks here in the studio as well. And also because you released an album, Introspection. So let's dive into a little bit of the history of Jochem Hamerling.
Let's go.
Starting with something else. Since the podcast with Estiva, we decided to do like a little quick fire before we start everything. So quick questions, quick answers.
Okay.
Ready?
Let's go.
Day or night studio sessions?
Night.
Analog synths or digital synths?
Ooh. Well, yeah, digital in the end.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Most overused plugin on Introspection? In a good way.
Yeah, that's a Diva.
Diva?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a synthesizer creating the most of the sounds.
Definitely.
All right. Coffee, tea, or something else
Coffee.
while producing? Finish this sentence. A track isn't done until?
Ever. Until it's released, until it's on Spotify.
Okay, so you can't change anything about it anymore.
Right. Yeah.
The weirdest sound you have sampled or created on the album?
Well, it's not... In the end, it didn't make the album, but I sampled my just freshly born daughter 2 years ago. But in the end, we didn't use it because it was getting a bit too cheesy.
Cheesy is good.
Yeah, no, it was, yeah. So,
what did you record? Her voice?
Yeah, her voice, just making noises. And yeah, so maybe in a future track. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The go-to snack during long studio hours?
Chocolate.
Yeah?
Yeah, always.
Which chocolate?
It doesn't really matter.
As long as it's chocolate.
Milka, the big Milka bars, the biscuit
those
Milka
are dangerous.
bars. Yeah, those
Just
are my favorite.
Chug in like
ones.
1,500 calories.
And they're huge. So yeah.
One preset you are embarrassed to love in your synths?
Let me think. I don't really use a lot of basic presets. I think I just start with a clean sheet every time, and then I'll see what happens. So
you just press random buttons and then see what happens.
Yeah.
Happy accidents, that's what we call them.
Yeah.
A track you will play during a 3 a.m. road trip?
Like a dance track or whatever.
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything.
I love everything by Niels Frahm. Just be real quiet and easy and minimalistic.
Yeah.
That really keeps my mind at ease.
That's a good one. Niels Frahm is always good.
Yeah.
And a track you would say for a Sunrise Festival set?
Well, I have a remix from Xavier Rudd, Spirit Bird.
Mm-hmm.
I was trying to get it officially released, but somehow it just doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But that's I always keep that one for special moments like this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, let's dive into the history of Jochem Hamerling. Because before we start, this is something actually really funny because in 2006, we both entered the Trance Energy Masterclass.
Yep.
And I remember there was, so IDT organized a masterclass and there would be a winner or two winners that would eventually, that was the plan. It didn't work out. In the end, it didn't go through, I think.
Yeah.
They would gather 10 talents.
Yeah.
And then we went to Studio 80 in Amsterdam.
Yep.
Out of like hundreds of people that submitted a mix, I think.
Yeah, mix and tracks, I think.
Mix and tracks. That's
original
correct,
productions.
Yeah. And then we were invited. We were with the final 10. I can't remember who else was in the final 10.
I think guys who are still around now, not a lot. I think.
Was Menno de Jong part of it?
No, I think Menno de Jong, he was part of it, but then the scene complained because he wasn't the talent anymore. Then they had to remove him. I think something like that.
Yeah, that's true. I think Jas van Hout was there, and a few other.
Yeah.
It's too bad that you can't look back. There was no.
I looked online as well. You did too, but I can't find anything anymore. But
anyways, we were both part of that class, which meant that we went there. We had like a full day with artists like Mark Norman, Cor Fijnmans, Ronald Vergelderen was there. Sequence, Matthew Duque, Mike Push was there as well, and they were. I don't even know what they did anymore. They paired you up with one or two artists.
We did a back-to-back set with one of the.
I did it with Ronald Vergelderen.
I think I did it with Mark Norman.
Okay.
Not sure anymore, actually. And they listened to our tracks and they gave feedback, and I think that was kind of the
And in
thing.
the end, there was a party, and then there was supposed to be a winner that would play at the State of at Trance Energy.
Yeah, but I don't think that happened.
There was no winner in the end, I think. No. But still, it was a nice.
It was great. I mean, yeah.
We walked out with a bunch of vinyls at the
signed
recordings and high contrast. Anyways, good time. So from that moment on, I remember that. I mean, there was no real social media or whatever. So I sometimes saw you at a club in Bunnik Brothers.
Yeah.
You were a resident over there, and I would go there with friends sometimes. And I was like, hey, there's Jochem.
Yeah. We both took our own paths, and now we're here. So that's
now we're here. It's
cool.
really funny. Yeah. Anyways, let's go back to the beginning of the beginnings, because there was a Jochem Hamerling at a certain point that fell in love with dance music. Tell us, do you still remember a certain track that pulled you in?
Well, yeah, a track definitely. That was A Better Off Alone. That was I think I bought the CD single, and it had like 5 remixes on it. Yeah. And I knew radio, but then I saw those remixes, like 7-minute versions that were like insane. I mean, I think it was a Signum remix and a few others. And I was like, oh, holy shit, what's going on? And from that moment on, I bought every CD single that had the word remix on it.
Yeah.
You know, back then you had those sale things with like 10 singles for 10 euros. Yeah. So I just bought everything. I came home with 30 singles each week with everything with remix on it, remix, club mix, whatever.
Yeah.
So that kind of got me into it. And then when I was 17, I moved to Chicago for a year. I did my high school there. And Chicago is house, of course. So I got there and I already did some music. I think I just released my first trance track back then.
On Cloud9.
On Cloud9, yeah. So when I got there, a few guys at the high school heard there was some kind of a guy who released dance music from the Netherlands. And they were interested, of course. And they were very much into house. So I got in contact with them and they introduced me to like the real house block parties in Chicago. So we went there, and then there was like Derek Carter, Paul Johnson, DJ Sneak. They were just playing at the block party, and I was like, holy shit, that's something else. Because before that, I knew the trance stuff that was popular in the Netherlands. And then I heard the groove, you know? And I think those two sounds are always somewhere within everything I do. It's always about the groove, but also about the melody.
Yeah, so in Chicago, you buried your super sauce. You left the super sauce behind in Chicago.
Yeah.
But before that, because you quickly say it, because you released music at a very early age already on Cloud9 Music, which used to be like a sister label of Armada Music as well. So that's pretty, that's pretty something for 17 years old.
I was.
How long did it take you? Like, when did you start making music? That's what I'm.
Yeah, very young. When I was 12, and my dad was always in bands and choirs even. And he had a lot of synthesizers, so I just played around on the synths always. And the first tracks I made only with the synthesizers. I didn't know about back then Fruity Loops or Reason or Ableton or anything. So I just made stuff on his synthesizers. And then someone else told me, hey, have you heard about this thing called Ableton? Where you can just drag samples.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Samples,
like a complete, So then you have the track already when you use a few good samples. So then it went pretty fast. And a few months later, I just made some stuff, sent it out to a couple of labels. And then, Cloud9 said, we want to release a track. So that was, and I think one of the second or third releases was on Misha Helsloot's Create back then.
Yeah.
Which I think it was also Cloud9.
Yeah, it's also Cloud9.
Yeah. So that's where still trance releases. That's kind of the beginning. Yeah.
Under which name did you release those?
That was all. I think it was both under Audio Fox.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. So you were in touch with Bas Kaspers back in the days.
Definitely,
and he would sign them. Yeah. Big shout out to Bas. He signed some amazing talents back in the days. So that's really cool. So you already mentioned it, because I already wrote this down as well, that you went to Chicago and you got into the house scene, and that pretty much changed your whole musical direction when you went back to the Netherlands, right?
Well, it definitely gave more depth and more variety to it. I really saw there was more than just the top 40 trance hits back then, because in the Netherlands it was only trance and club.
Yeah.
And the Chicago house was really about the groove. It was bass lines, that's it. So from that moment on, I knew the bass lines were for me also very important. So it gave a lot more energy, and it really opened up a lot more registers in myself to create stuff.
Yeah, but in the meantime, you already had some tunes signed to Cloud9 as a trance artist.
Yeah.
So it was probably easier to just stick to that road, but you went.
Maybe it's easier for some, depending on your goal. But for me, I create stuff that comes out, So it can be house or trance or techno or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do the same for 2 years. I just get bored very quickly.
Yeah,
which is also a problem because where do people place me?
Yeah.
Are you a trance artist? Are you a house artist or whatever? I don't think I'm any of those. I'm somewhere in the middle.
I had the same talk with Ozgur Khan as well.
Yeah,
because Ozgur Khan, I don't really know if a lot of people. Well, if you're a long listener of A State of Trance, you know Ozgur Khan because he had a breakthrough as a, let's say, a progressive trance producer, something like that. But he gets bored so fast. And then the funny thing is that Ozgur was sort of the fourth member of the Swedish House Mafia because he grew up with Ingrosso and Angelo, but he got bored of house and then he went into techno.
Yeah.
And then he got releases on Cyrus D's label, on the Mouseville label. So, and now he's doing like super deep stuff because he gets bored all the time. Is that the same problem that you have? That
I
you
think
get
so.
Bored of your sound?
Yeah, and it's maybe a problem, but I do a lot of stuff I really love. But I probably could have more bookings or whatever if I just stick to one sound. But I'm sure I wouldn't be happy then. So this is just the way it is for me.
But but in the last few years, you created more and more your very own sound, I would say.
Maybe, but still, it's still. I think people are accepting more sounds. That may be the difference.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm releasing now on A State of Trance, but also Days Like Nights and True Soul.
Yeah,
I think that wouldn't be possible.
I don't think a lot of people do that. To be honest.
No, which makes me happy.
But I have to say, like if you like I said, that more people are accepting it more, but also labels are accepting more
definitely
broad releases as well. Because a track like the you released on the State of Trance, the Fraser River, would not have been released on the label 5 years ago.
No, I was surprised. It was released on the State of Trance.
Yeah. Well, we feel good music is good music.
Well, I'm very happy with it, of course.
Yeah.
But
And in early of your career, you also created a bootleg Enya. Maybe was that one of the tracks that kind of kicked things off for you as well?
Yeah, for sure. That was that really led to a lot of festivals back then.
Yeah,
and I think it even led to you mentioned Brothers. They heard the track as well, and they wanted a resident DJ who also produced.
Ooh, okay.
And then I think they even contacted me because of that bootleg. But I got a lot of, mostly from the trance side as well. I think it was BBC One played it a lot. That was a little breakthrough track for me back then. Yeah, sure.
I remember that the Brothers in Pinnock. It was a really fun club. There's nothing anymore.
It's gone.
I drive by the spot on the A12.
It's completely gone. It's not there anymore.
I had a lot of fun nights over there, to be honest.
I did too. And we did a closing party, I think 2 years ago or 1.5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's not there anymore. It's pretty sad.
How long did you play there?
I think maybe 10 years.
Wow.
And then as a resident, like full-on resident, every Saturday night, 6-hour sets, 5-6 years, and then with some guest DJs in between.
Yeah.
And after that, once a month, and then it turned to every 2 months. Because I wanted to do other stuff, and I got bored.
Yeah, you got bored because I can imagine as a resident DJ, because I did the same in Theater in Naaldwijk for a while as well. That you, as a resident DJ, have to play the full night, and sometimes you had some guests in between. Yeah. But it meant that you have to play whatever is popular at the moment. Not necessarily what you like.
And I think in Brothers I could go pretty deep. It wasn't only the big hits, but still, the big hits are the big hits for, especially back then, like half a year, the same tracks were popular. So you have to play them every week. And of course, I had new stuff every week. But the tracks that got the most response were the big hits. you know.
And the funny thing is, in those times, you would play maybe vinyls as well, and then tracks were you bought let's say you got a white label 3 months before the release, and then the release would be charting. Let's say 10 weeks.
To play it again,
so you could play it for 19 weeks or something like that. Which is unheard of right now.
No,
Now a track is out.
It's cool for the track, but for the DJ itself, if you get boring quick, then it's So okay, here we go again. Play it again for you.
Do you because in the sets that you do right now, do you still get bored of your own music, or do you have to refresh your sets totally all the time as well, or is it just?
Yeah, I think I'm at this moment. I'm at the point where I have to play those tracks.
Yeah,
and I think that's pretty cool. I do get bored of them to play them out myself.
Yeah,
but you know, if the people are coming to hear those tracks, then it gives also a new energy.
Yeah.
So I don't mind. I like it actually. Then.
And how did it influence you as an artist to play these long nights of such a variety of tracks? How did you translate that into the production in the studio?
Well, I think it made me realize that you need different sounds and different vibes for different moments.
Mm-hmm.
When you hear the album, it's there are some really deep, like star tracks, but also prime time bangers on there. And I think you need both. For me, I need both because I play both slots. I mean, if you're only a primetime artist, maybe you don't.
Yeah.
But for me, that's
interesting because the last few guests we had in the studio and also here behind the microphone say the same thing, that they make music not necessarily for let's say for the mood, but just something that you stick into your sets.
Yeah, definitely.
You also get into the studio, you're like, okay, today I'm gonna make something that I will play at 5 in the morning rather than at 9 in the evening.
It doesn't really work for me, but I try to sometimes. Yeah. But then usually I start out with the track 4 or 5 in the morning, and I think, wow, no, it needs a hi-hat, and then maybe a few more BPMs up, and then it's a prime time track, or the other way around. That's what mostly happens with my tracks.
The happy accidents.
Yeah.
And you already mentioned it earlier because you say you're not really kind of preset kind of guy. Does that mean that you go into the studio and just fiddle around and see what you bump into, really, rather than come up with, okay, I want to do this now and here we go?
Yeah, so I use presets, but I don't recall them.
Mm-hmm.
I just I open. Well, the past few months have been mostly Diva, and now the new Serum, of course.
Serum too. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah, but so the old Diva, I just opened it up and I just start, and then if I like something, then okay, I play, record it, and next. But I don't really save them or anything. I should probably, but I don't. So every time I have to look for new sounds and new samples
instead of saving them.
Yeah, and then I use new sounds as well because I don't want to use the same sound. I've used it on the previous track already.
But no, it's you know, it's better and faster if you would save them like channel strips, or I know that some people just and it's really fast that you would have like a template that you would press new project, you would have your drums, your buses.
I tried it, but for me it
doesn't work either. No. I need to start with a blank canvas all the time.
I know,
which is not really.
I've did some productions with other guys as well, and sometimes most guys, you sit with them and they say, I want to sound kind of like this. Oh yeah, boop, boop, boop. And he found it.
Yeah.
For me, no, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work like that.
I just play sounds and I think, okay, he'll feel this, and then I start playing.
Do you prefer making music by yourself or with someone next to you?
Probably the real creative process, I like it better myself.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the real fiddling starts and the mixing and everything, then I like other people to join.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Now something else, because we'll get to the album later, of course. You're also part of the dance department radio crew, and in the past you also did the Boom Room.
Yeah.
So you're really a radio kind of man also. How much does it influence into your productions as well? Because you hear what's the hype at the
I think
moment.
it helps for sure. And I do radio because I want to be in touch with music. You know, it's not that I do music because I want to be at the radio.
Yeah,
the radio is more like a way to express everything. I mean, I get sent, you as well, probably hundreds of promos every week. So you really see what's going on, where the trend is going. That helps, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be free in what I make, but it helps to see where the direction is going, so you can at least use it a little bit in your own stuff.
A little bit of direction here and there. I don't think I know this must be like we must receive the most promos out of everybody in the whole world, both of us.
For the radio shows. For sure.
No, but it's nice also because we share tunes as well sometimes. So it's really nice because you get some stuff that I don't have, or you say like, oh, this is a good track or whatever. It's really nice as well. How do you balance it time-wise between DJing, producing, but also making radio shows?
I really just have separate days in which I do everything. So Monday is a dance department day only. I just start in the morning and then and promos I check every day. In the evening usually I download everything, because if you have to do that once a week,
impossible.
It's too much. After 100 tracks you're like
your ears are gone.
So you don't hear it anymore. So I have to do that pretty much daily. And then Tuesday is usually more like a production day. Thursday as well. On Wednesday, I'm out with a little girl. So
the most important thing.
The most important thing,
100%.
of course. Yeah. And then in the weekends, it's the playing or
So you have like a proper structure. And this is the day for this. This is the day for this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's pretty much impossible to do, I guess.
Yeah.
Are you structured like that in everything that you do?
No,
or?
not at all.
No?
No, but for the radio, it's really helpful, because if you don't do that, then you have so much deadlines every week, you know. And if you really think about, if you're always thinking about, the deadline, then it's crazy. But if you just know there's a deadline, but just Monday, entire day, it will be all right. You know, that's.
I have the same, because I'm a huge procrastinator.
Yeah.
But with radio, somehow, you know, because you know
you have to
have this done.
Yeah.
And otherwise, just things will go wrong. 100%.
Yeah.
Now, okay, let's go back one more time, because, like I said, you had quite a versatile growing up in music, being influenced by being a DJ, by being a radio host. If you would do everything over again, would you just focus on one thing, or would you just stick to the same what you're doing right now?
I don't know. I don't think I can, because it's about the getting bored part. I want to do it all, and actually, I kind of like all kinds of music. So if you say, well, you started out trance, you should have stick to trance, and maybe you would be, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be happy. So I don't think that would be a good solution for me.
Okay.
And I also like the other stuff. So I think if I do it over again, it will be probably pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are there any turning points that you still remember that were like very important in to get where you are right now? For example, how did you get into the whole radio role? Because you know it's very specific.
Yeah. No. Well, I did media and entertainment management school with a direction radio already. There's a specialization in radio. But I wasn't really sure back then. Especially, I was full on producing music, and back then it was really my dream to like be the number one. You know, that was in the beginning for sure the thing. But then I started doing some touring internationally, flying, especially after the Enya remix. But very soon I realized, I'm not happy at all. You know, I'm in the plane. All my friends are texting each other from let's go to whatever. I can't be there. Oh, it's my birthday. Want to come? No, sorry. You know. Yeah. So that I just wasn't happy. So then I quit. Basically, I said, well, this is not for me. Let's look for a normal job. And then I made a resume, and I sent it to Slam and a lot of companies. And Slam said, well, we might have a job for you. So that's how I got into radio, really. And then I was assistant music director for a while.
Wow.
And then music director went to 538. So I became the music director for 538. And then we started the Boom Room.
So suddenly you had to decide which music would end up on the radio.
Yeah. I was the one. I made the playlist. Yeah.
Oh, amazing! And then you started the Boom Room, and you were behind the scenes. Gijs, of course, was the host.
Yeah.
And the face of the radio. But
I made the music planning, and the mixes. I made that. Yeah. And then the mix marathon, of course, which is in the Netherlands very big.
Yeah, because Mix Marathon is every Friday. The whole day, it's just DJ mixes on Slam
24
FM.
hours.
24 hours, and a lot of people have radio shows, and there's like dance music the whole day through.
Yeah,
also
non-stop DJ
stuff.
mix. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I will always listen to, on a Friday. It's always Slam FM, listening to the Mixed Marathon, 100%.
Yeah, great.
So so you're still pretty much involved in those kind of things as well.
Yeah, Mixed Marathon. I still do the programming.
Yeah,
and then of course dance department now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, you're a father, also a producer.
Yep.
And you release an album.
Yep.
Because you get
Keep
bored.
Going.
You get bored. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the album, Introspection. It's quite a powerful word, you would say, introspection.
Yeah.
Why did you choose it as the title of your very first album?
Yeah. I mean, I did some like best of or collectors
some EPs,
albums, EPs, but for this time, it really is an introspection into myself and just opening up, just with a completely blank canvas, start working on music.
Mm-hmm.
Like really, just it's Friday night, it's 8 o'clock. Grab a bottle of whiskey, go upstairs, and just start.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's at least one of the tracks. That's how it got made, and then just in a few hours it was done. You know, just start out. Okay, let's put the BPM on 80.
Yeah.
And then see what happens, you know. And then I remember listening to Niels Fraam that day entirely. So I was like, oh, okay.
You were in the vibe of the piano.
Totally in that vibe. And then just why a track can be 7 minutes or 8 minutes or maybe even 15, 16 minutes. I had one track that was originally 17 minutes.
Yeah.
But the response was so good that I thought, well, this is, of course, commercially not very interesting to have a 7, but I didn't care.
Yeah.
But then the response was so good that I made a club version that's 7 minutes. And then people started playing it. And now I didn't put it on the album to release it as a single on another label. So that also happened. Fraser River was actually also planned for the album.
Yeah.
And then Armada said we want it on...
we want to release it.
Yeah. So, okay, yeah.
So in the meantime, because you release your music on quite a lot of different labels, so you had to disappoint some labels like, okay, sorry, this is for my album, or...
Yeah, some I just didn't send out at all. I thought they were just... or a bit different or a bit weird. I just want to do those myself. And then, you know, so I can also do promotion and marketing myself and spend some money on it if necessary.
Yeah.
And with another label, that's difficult.
Yeah. You already mentioned earlier the album is quite a diverse thing. It goes from breakbeat, very much different BPMs and different kind of songs. Is that a way that you were like, okay, I want to do like a storytelling in the album, or was it just because you just did it because you had to do it?
Yeah, well, basically the last thing pretty much. And I think every track is some kind of a story in itself. And then a lot of tracks I just couldn't get released. I mean, there were some tracks on there and I thought, wow, this could be a cool single somewhere.
Yeah.
But on what label? Because it's not really commercially very interesting. It's not a dance track.
Yeah.
So where are you going to go? Mm-hmm. And then you're going to go on some very small niche that doesn't really help anybody. So then it might be better to do it yourself. So you at least have control over what happens with it. So then I just decided, let's see what I have. Can I do an album? Do I have enough?
Mm-hmm.
And can I make some extra stuff without any boundaries to really make the circle around?
If I get it right, you took the tracks that you had, like some of the tracks that weren't necessarily signed to any typical dance music label for certain strategic reasons, I would say. Yeah. Also. Yeah. And then you were like, okay, I'm going to take these tracks and then create something around it that normally wouldn't be coming out of my studio.
That's kind of how
that's the album.
Yeah. So it was. I was working on it for 1.5 years, but that's mostly I was working on tracks first, and then I thought, well, maybe these labels sometimes do some other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, maybe I can place that one there, and I usually got the response, yeah, it's very cool, but it doesn't really fit. It doesn't fit our catalog, you know.
Yeah.
Well, that's just the story of every producer, I guess.
The amount of emails that I got, not for us.
Yeah,
well, at least you got an email then, so that was already a win.
Yeah.
I remember back very much in the days then when I sent demos to Armada Music as well. I remember Sander Bauma first not replying at all.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, I got really nice track, but not for us.
Yeah, okay. Getting there.
Okay, well, you're getting there.
Yeah.
And then it took another few years before something got picked up. But at least you knew that you were kind of on track, because if an A&R replies it's not for us, that means that they at least listen to it.
And now I usually get, sometimes you still don't get anything, but a lot of times, and I get now, it is one not, but send some more. okay.
Like, okay.
Getting there. Yeah.
Getting there next time. Then you already know in the back of your mind, okay, so I have to do it like this, but just a little bit different.
And then I ask, what are you looking for? Because I make a very wide variety of stuff. I don't want to send you the trance stuff if you like it more housey. So let me know. And then, sometimes it works out.
Yeah. Well, before we get on with Elma, I'm just curious, like, how do you decide which track is going to fit to which label? And why do you decide to release on so many different labels?
I don't know.
Yeah.
No, I don't really know. I mean, sometimes I think this track, the Tofino track, for example, I really felt that Ilke Klein would like it. And he did.
You could see that he would play it 100%.
Yeah. So, and then the one that's coming out on Watergate, that was also a very direct, the Go High track with Vadim Zukov.
Vadim Zukov. Also a producer that released on A State of Trance.
Did a lot of trance stuff back in the day.
Back in the days on the label as well.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to create the full album? Because, like I said, there was some stuff on there that didn't get signed or you didn't send to other labels. So, is the first track that you made on the album, is it something that you did 10 years ago?
No,
or?
I think it's 2 years ago when the first tracks got there, and then also the other way around. I had tracks for the album that were taking off because labels wanted it.
Yeah.
Like Fraser River and Tofino. Because both tracks they were planned to be on the album, like as the club tracks of the album. So then I thought, well, there has to be some dance floor stuff on there. So I'll wait with releasing until I have something to back it up.
Okay, makes a lot of sense, to be honest.
Yeah.
Now there's quite a time between the first tracks and the last tracks. Because as a producer, you're evolving your skill set the whole time, and you're getting better and better and better. Before you finish the album, did you go back to the old tracks and take in new techniques again, or is it something that you just leave alone as soon as it's done? Or
no, the final mixing. I work with the guy who does the final mixing. I do a lot of stuff myself, and then when I think it's done, I send it to him, and then he does the final edges.
Yeah.
But the mixing took a long time, and then so 1.5 years is a long time.
Yeah.
So the first tracks, I think we have like 8 mixdowns, 8 final mixdowns.
The final V2.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
V2 underscore.
Yeah, and then
maybe
it was ready, and even played it out, sent it out to labels, and then it was a few months later, and then I said, okay, well, this maybe change the vocal. Okay, let's start over, and then or maybe remove the vocal. Maybe not breakbeat, but maybe just add a for the floor.
Yeah.
So that's how it works. And then you just have to say, okay, now
a track is never
it's going to be out in May, because if not, you're going to
keep on going.
And also, the AI monster is coming.
Yeah,
that was also for me a reason to get it out, because I think the time is coming that people don't know if humans produce music or not. So that's.
Are you afraid of AI?
Well, I don't think afraid is the word, but I'm very. I don't like where it's going.
No, it's for us creators, better and better. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think within a few years you can just create. You can let AI create any kind of music, and it's going to be better than most humans can ever make.
Produce better.
Yeah. So that's also a big reason I wanted to have the album out now.
Yeah. And I think also for, because I had this discussion with Estiva a few weeks ago. Of course, there's tools that you can really use to make your productions faster, or to get like vocals in or stuff like that, which is also bad for singers and songwriters, of course.
That's a start. Yeah.
That's a start. But on the other side, it's kind of scary how fast it's going. And the more important it becomes that you actually communicate with your fan base rather than just throwing out a tune and do nothing about it. You have to involve people with what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah, and that's also, I want to be busy with music and not with social media.
Yeah, that's the thing. Because what you see right now is that people with, let's say you have one post on social media that gets viral. And that's already worth more than 10 new singles or something like that.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah.
But it is what it is. We have to deal with it. So.
And I mean, that's why you said, are you scared? No, but it's just, we have to deal with it, and it's coming.
Yeah.
So
it's already here.
Yeah. But at this moment, they are tools.
Yeah.
But when will they replace us?
Yeah. Well, yes, and yeah, of course, yeah. But at a certain, the only thing that AI cannot do is be in a live environment, I would say, and that you perform a song.
Right.
And then the feeling when it hits, when someone's playing your favorite song in front of you and you see the person.
No, I mean, the human aspect will always be there.
Yeah, but if you're listening at home at Spotify, there's no way you can hear the difference between something that you created yourself.
And who's going to be the guy on stage? Is it someone who actually has passion for music and spent 2 years making an album?
Yeah.
Or is it someone who pressed a button and is very good with social media?
Yeah, that's the thing. And also... That's a whole other discussion with introverts and extroverts, and the extroverts hiring people to make the music, introverts being forced to get on the stage and become something that they are not. Which is a whole different whole game, I would say. Yeah. Now back to the album. Yeah. Because there's a lot of different genres on there. How do you decide which because I can imagine that you have more tracks that you want to put on. How did you create the picture, the shaping of the album, the order of the tracks? To make it one cohesive thing.
Also, the order changed, I think, until the day of uploading it to the
Notice track 5, Notice 7.
Yeah,
or
really, yeah. So I was like, I can go for the just put on the commercial tracks, like the more streaming friendly tracks at the start. So that's easier.
Yeah.
But does that reflect me really? So as an artist, Yeah. So in the end, I decided no, I'm just gonna switch it up. So actually, the first track is that one we just talked about, the long Niels Frahm-ish, slow track. I just put that as a second after the intro, just to show people there's more.
There's more
to me than boom boom boom. Let's dance.
The boom boom boom. Let's dance.
Boom boom.
Yeah, because it's a whole other discussion as well. Because I should have started with that. I would say that on one side you have people that really believe in releasing the albums.
Yeah.
Because from a streaming point of view, it's not really that interesting anymore.
Not at all.
But on the other side, it's probably something you just want to tick off your bucket list and you can tour with, I guess. So there's a lot of people that are pro or con doing albums. I'm a firm believer of it as well, but I've been procrastinating the release of my album as well for a long time because in the meantime you're releasing singles and then you want to make sure that every single track that you release and what you say as well is valid as well, because if you release an album, it has 10 tracks on it, you would see in the numbers the first 3 tracks would have a lot of streams and then later it would just go down. You want to make sure that everything gets released, but in the other hand it's an album. I saw a picture of you on socials that you had a vinyl on you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just, I just really wanted to do it. And there were some labels interested in releasing it, but they wanted to have a say in how it would sound. Yeah, and then I just thought, okay, then.
This is me.
I'll just do this one. It's pretty, because 2 weeks later, there's a single coming on Watergate, which is not on the album. And that's like a full-on club track. The motors just keep going until the next releases as well.
Yeah.
But I just really wanted to do this, and that's why I did it on my own label with my own. I just entirely
everything
freedom.
on your own terms.
Yeah.
Your own taste.
Yeah.
Did you show your girlfriend or wife the album before you released it? Like, okay, listen to this. Do you think it's good enough?
Yeah, and then she said, "Oh, this is boring." No, I like this one. I like this one, and then I turn it up the volume. Oh, I like this one better. That's the same track, but the higher volume. Oh. No, she doesn't. I mean, she's great, but she doesn't really know.
No, I understand that 100% as well. Also, one thing that's really important for an album as well is the cover art, because that's something that really reflects for yourself as an artist what the sound is of the album, or is something very personal because it's the picture of your whole picture.
Yeah.
How did you come up with the album art?
I made it myself.
Okay.
I did when I was in Chicago. I did a Photoshop course.
Okay.
So back then I did a lot of designing for just small labels and artists. And I made, I think, 20 or 30 versions. And then I wanted to be all the singles to have the same vibe, Yeah. So I just made 20, 30 completely different artwork things with everything that should be there. And then I decided to go for this one because it's just my face with a few, and you see my face like 4 or 5 times. which makes sense because the album has just very many different vibes, different faces, and it's introspections in myself, showing different sides of myself. So I think it's a round picture that way.
Did you make a mood board for yourself, like this is what I want, or was it just like the same with your music? You just open up and just see what happens.
Yeah, just start with a blank sheet, and then I did some photo shoots. Used all the photos and then threw them away again. Actually, the photo I used for this one is from ADE last year, not this year, but 2 years ago. Just put it in, add some effects, and then I was like, oh, okay, this could be the one, And then it turned out to be the one.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So ahead of the album, you also released some singles of it already. What was the reaction of them? Because it's not necessarily it's dance floor tracks, of course, but it could be a little bit different than what you released them before. Or
no, it did. So people really liked it, but it's just difficult to release music that's 90 BPM, basically without a beat, 7 minutes long. That's difficult, but that for me wasn't the point.
No.
I mean, there are some club tracks on there. The Inheritance track, I think I played it in A State as well.
Yeah,
that's doing pretty well. And Go Back is on there, which was a single on Be Yourself last year. Also played here in A State. So some tracks are getting picked up pretty good. But the deeper stuff, that's why nobody wanted to release it, of course. That's why I put it on the album. I had to do it. And they have a few thousand streams, But that's not the point for me.
But still, and if some people say like, if a track has like a few thousand, it's still a few thousand streams.
Yeah.
And then I know a lot of people listen, they only look at the data at certain things, but just when you realize that a few thousand people have listened to you, what you made, and that you put your heart and soul into, that's
even though I'm happy with it.
Even though you earn maybe 20 cents.
That's not the point.
With all of the streams.
Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, you have to pay your bills as well, of course. But now the album is done. It's released.
Yes.
Congratulations once again.
Thanks.
Is there something else in the work already in the meantime? Or are you going to go back to firing out singles here and there? Or are you still doing like some
No, the album, there's going to be a remix album as well. So the old tracks have been remixed from techno to house to trancey stuff. So those will be released the coming months.
Okay.
And then I have the track with BLR coming on True Soul.
The label of Adam Beyer.
Adam Beyer's label, that's going to be, I think it was June or maybe even July. But that's hopefully a big one. And the Watergate track is just out, which I hope is going to do good.
Yeah. In the meantime, I spoke with Bart Skills about this also because he was in the studio. And also, of course, someone that releases on Drumcode and True Soul a lot as well. That's like the sort of the holy grail of a lot of people right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did you manage to get it into the...
Well, Leon already did some releases there.
Yeah.
Actually, I made this track a year ago.
Yeah.
And at first, Spinnin wanted to have it. But they said, well, maybe we can add a little extra layer. Maybe work with someone else to get some extra energy to the track. And then I contacted Leon. And he added that pounding kick you heard in the set.
He's crazy low end,
insane. But then it wasn't the spinning track anymore.
No, so it's too much of a techno track.
It's really techno. And then I just said to Leon, you released there, so maybe just send it over there. And then within a few days we got the reaction. Let's do it as a single on True Soul. I was like, yep, let's go.
Another thing that you probably didn't expect a few years ago.
No, amazing, of course. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming by, answering all these questions, and coming to the studio for a guest mix, of course. Let's hope there's going to be lots more in the future of Jochem Hamerling here on A State of Trance. All right.
Cool.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for tuning into this State of Trance podcast. We'll see you next time for a new one. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in. Check all previous episodes on YouTube or your favorite podcast portal.